Oh,
hello everyone. I'm happy to be with you again at this year's Cyber Week. It's exciting to see the great agenda and the participation that you've lined up. It has been a very busy year for our industry, and I would like to share some of our insights at CyberArk as we help customers around the world secure identity and protect against attacker innovation. Since we were last together, there's been a lot of change. Organizations are increasingly adopting new technologies while facing an increase in the volume, and the initiatives leveraging DevOps methodologies are moving full steam ahead. The rapid move to work from anywhere dissolved any remaining notion of a traditional network perimeter. And attackers haven't stopped innovating. Attackers continue to become more sophisticated in their approach and are becoming bolder, resulting in high-profile, front-page breaches, nearly all of them centered on compromised identities. Now, we all know that traditional security perimeters have been eroding for some time, and this trend has greatly accelerated in the past 18 months. Identity remains a significant target, with a large majority of organizations experiencing an identity-related breach. We recently asked security executives about their views on zero trust and identity security. Here's what we learned. First, credential theft is more of an issue than ever. 97% of senior security executives are seeing an increase in credential theft. We also found that end users and their endpoints are increasingly being targeted. More than half of organizations report increased attacks on their employees. The big takeaway is that in the face of a disappearing perimeter, senior executives view identity security controls as their top priority for making zero trust a reality. Landmark breaches like SolarWinds, Microsoft Exchange, CodeCov, and now Kaseya, along with attacks on critical infrastructure, are proof that our attackers are evolving and innovating to achieve their goals. Attacker innovation is happening across multiple vectors. First, attackers are using more sophisticated techniques, such as the Golden SAML method, which was discovered by the CyberArk Labs team in 2017 and was used in the SolarWinds breach. Second, attackers are getting much smarter and more targeted with spear phishing and impersonation attacks, often focusing on non-IT individuals, such as end users who have high-value access to specific systems. Third, the commoditization of supply chain-based attacks. Supply chain attacks were predominantly used across military and government actors, and we are now seeing the commoditization of these techniques trickling down to financially driven actors. As you might guess, identity compromise is the common denominator in all of these attacks, and the abuse of privileged access is almost always a factor in the attack chain. Kaseya is the most recent example of attacker innovation, one that combines the reach of supply chain with the devastation of ransomware. While details are still evolving, the attack on Kaseya is being considered the single biggest global ransomware attack on record. Federal authorities put the number of affected companies in the thousands, affecting financial services, travel, leisure, and public sector computer systems located across 17 countries. Following the Kaseya attack, U.S. government agencies released recommendations for potential victims, including cybersecurity best practices, such as implementing MFA, multi-factor authentication, and least privilege controls. These practices should be foundational to your cybersecurity strategies. Once you get the basics down, it's critical to keep moving, progressing to more sophisticated controls. If this sort of MSP-focused attack sounds familiar, it should. Early last year, I was talking about the Cloud Hopper attack that had re-emerged in the headlines. First uncovered in 2016, Cloud Hopper was a years-long cyber invasion that targeted the world's largest technology service providers and their customers. One phishing attack at one endpoint went on to impact hundreds of firms that had relationships with breached cloud providers. In the case of one victim, the attack cycle continued for at least 5 years, during which time the attacker repeatedly took whole directories of credentials, giving them the ability to impersonate hundreds of employees. So, MSPs provided the scale, one-to-many, identities provided the pathway of the attack. In the case of Cloud Hopper and Kaseya, for the attacker it's all about decentralization and connectivity, and targeting trust, trusted software, trusted processes, and trusted relationships. When you look at the stages of an attack, we've identified initial infection, lateral movement, and privilege escalation as the stages with the greatest risk. When considering how to prioritize your security investments, they should map against these areas where your organization is most vulnerable. Over the past year, we've seen highly targeted and damaging ransomware attacks on cities and towns, as well as major healthcare systems around the world. As bad as Kaseya is, it's actually the evolution of years of attacker innovation. Think about 2016, when some of the most damaging ransomware was unleashed, like Locky and Mamba. So what's changed? We're seeing a big shift in ransomware attacks, going from what we'd call opportunistic spray and pray approaches to highly targeted attacks going after specific organizations based on their ability or their need to pay large ransoms, using customized tactics, techniques, and procedures. Over the last several months, CyberArk Labs and the CyberArk Red Team have tracked a significant rise in operator-based ransomware attacks that look a lot different than these opportunistic spray and pray attempts. Operator-based ransomware attacks are executed by highly skilled threat actors that breach the organization and move and escalate strategically. Then, they drop their ransomware from within the organization's network as the last step, only after they've achieved a level of privileged access within the organization. These actors will then follow up with a double extortion, asking the target to pay them twice, once for providing the decryption key for their ransom, and a second time to agree not to name and shame the organization by publishing the sensitive data they have extracted. That's why identity-centric controls are so important to incorporate as part of a defense-in-depth endpoint security strategy, along with EDR and XDR, along with data and network analysis, threat hunting, and incident response tools. Not only can identity security solutions help detect and block the malware itself, but by taking a zero trust, trust nothing, and verify everything approach, they also work to stop identity and privilege abuse at critical points in the attack chain. As you can see, the world has changed quite a bit and continues to change rapidly. Identity is the new battleground, and at CyberArk we've evolved to embrace it. Our mission is to provide a security-first approach to identity security, centered on privilege. Not only do we help our customers defend against increasingly complex attacks, we also enable their digital businesses by implementing new technologies faster, smarter, and more securely. CyberArk's identity security vision is to provide the most comprehensive security offering for any identity, human or machine, across business applications, distributed workforces, hybrid cloud workloads, and throughout the DevOps lifecycle. With 120 related patents, successful acquisition integrations, and non-stop organic development, we are continuously improving how we can secure identities wherever they exist and help organizations keep one step ahead of the attackers. Over the last year, we have increased our customer count by nearly 1,000 and have expanded to 110 countries around the globe. What's more, we are securing privileged access and identities at over 50% of the Fortune 500 and over 35% of the Global 2000. But as was discussed here earlier today, this innovation doesn't happen without an ecosystem of partners, technology partners, business partners, as well as those in the academia and government. We can only strengthen our defenses as a team, a unified team against a common enemy. Expanding on that team-based approach, CyberArk continues to work with a strong ecosystem right here in Israel. From a strong history of organic and inorganic growth, including the acquisition of several Israel-based companies, to ramped up hiring plans. We also recently opened up an office in Beersheba. I was so proud to be there in person for the opening ceremony. As we explore a new era of global business and technology, our world needs to continue working together to secure it. It's extremely rewarding to be part of the Cyber Week event once again and to contribute to the vibrant cybersecurity ecosystem in Israel and throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Udi. Ladies and gentlemen, something amazing is going to happen right now. The wonders of technology. You wouldn't believe it, but we have Udi here on screen wearing different clothes. How
No,
did
I'm
that
not.
happen? Is it the same?
Yeah, it's the same, of
Oh, it's the
course.
same. It's the same. It's the same. So everything is live. You see, say
Yeah.
hi.
Hi, Manny, and good to be with everyone.
Yeah, perfect. So we have many, many people um, live online watching us right now. And I have a few questions for you based on your talk. First of all, thank you so much for this insightful talk. So here we go. 3 questions. Number 1, supply chain, actually 4 questions. Supply chain attacks had been in the news long before SolarWinds. Why do you think they continue to be so successful?
So first of all, Manny, you mentioned earlier the viewers online, and I have to tell you, it looks great. I was able to follow all the sessions and really enjoyed it so far. So I'm giving you feedback from the world. And back to the question, I think the supply chain attacks are very rewarding to the attacker because you have the effect of one to many. You invest in R&D in order to break into a supplier, and then you find yourself propagating and leveraging it, moving across your attack or multiple attacked victims. So it's very rewarding for the attacker. And on the other hand, you can find many victims who have basic security in place or have not thought about will an attacker ever make it inside and didn't implement zero trust approaches. And for many years, we've been saying you have to assume breach. You have to assume that somebody will find the credential and identity and be able to move around. And I think now it's a clear reality that they can come through a trusted vector.
Thank you. Okay, so question number 2. Here we go. Talking about history repeating itself. Since you were last at Cyber Week, and we're always happy to have you here at Cyber Week, the CyberArk Labs team made the news related to the discovery of Golden SAML and its connection to SolarWinds. What else have they been working on?
Yeah, we mentioned the ecosystem in Israel. I'm very proud of the CyberArk research lab in Israel, and we discovered Golden SAML back in 2017, and named it, and then of course it became infamous following SolarWinds. And yes, just a few days ago, our team uncovered a weakness that could allow an attacker to impersonate any user trying to authenticate to Windows Hello, which is in 85% of Windows 10 users use Windows Hello for passwordless authentication. But we found a way to bypass and tricking the camera to authenticate the user just based on image that pre-planted. And so it would basically allow an attacker to target a user and based on images collected independently, be able to bypass Windows Hello. Of course, we worked with Microsoft to make sure we reduce this before we published, and it's going to be presented in Black Hat in Vegas.
That's amazing. Thank you for helping us to make the world a safer place. And this is an amazing discovery. So I hope now you have a problem because next year you need to come with even a bigger problem, and that's not going to be easy. So, okay, question number 3 talks about the Israeli ecosystem. Israel has gone from startup nation to scale-up nation. What does that mean to you as a business leader and for CyberArk in general?
For me, it's very personal. When we started CyberArk in Israel, when you looked up, the large cybersecurity company was Checkpoint, which we really appreciate, and I was glad to follow the Reed Door into this session. But that was it. Very few, maybe a handful of startups, and the rest really dominated by mostly American corporations. And for me, building up a scale-up company is actually creating a global company where we have presence around the world, where our management team is Israeli and from global locations, and to be in more than 100 countries and to really run a real business. And of course, we went public in 2014, and we like to serve as that example. And and I heard Inon earlier in the panel. We like to serve as that example where you can build large companies out of Israel and leverage the ecosystem. The ecosystem is better than ever. I think it was highly emphasized earlier. We leverage that both for talent, but also we made acquisitions in Israel, and it's a great opportunity to drive innovation, and then we can help bring it to market while we drive our own innovation.
So obviously, CyberArk is such an amazing story for cybersecurity and the Israeli ecosystem. I want to ask you, can you tell me about your latest acquisition in identity?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we kind of proven that the business and expansion doesn't stop during COVID, and our latest acquisition was actually in May of 2020. We acquired Idaptive, which is an identity as a service company in California with some Israeli roots in there as well. And it became part of CyberArk's expansion to what we call identity security. We pioneered the space of privileged access management and make sure that an attacker can't get strong access, or machines can't get strong access. And with this acquisition and coupled with other innovations from within, we can now offer protection for all types of users, even regular workforce employees, suppliers, customers of our customers, and it's really a big part of our platform, all SaaS driven, because of course the world is very much make it easy for customers to consume security. So we're very excited about that, and again, we're always pushing hard on internal innovation, but partnering and also looking at external opportunities.
Perfect. So let me ask you unplanned question. Okay, so all the questions were unplanned basically, but just as something that I was just thinking about, I want to ask you, what is the most exciting thing you are working on right now? What are we going to hear about in the next Cyber Week?
Well, there's things in the work. I think one of the biggest things that are going on is to make everything much more automated and easy for organizations to consume, so that they can take identity security both for the regular users and for the most sophisticated privileged users and consume that all quickly and easily. I think what's been talked about a lot here is we have to come up with, we have the platform, now let's make it very easy for customers to put that zero trust and least privilege in place. On top of that, we have solutions that help prevent ransomware. The least privilege concept, of course, is part of ransomware prevention. One of the acquisitions that we made in Israel is a company called Viewfinity, and it's part of our solution to run least privilege on the endpoint and actually prevent unwanted applications from running. So it's a big part of our anti-ransomware solution. You'll hear more about that as well.
Perfect. So making security easier and simplifying security management automatically improves security. If it's easier for you, if it's easier for you to manage your security environment will be better. So thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you for your talk. Thank you for taking the time and answering our questions. And I really hope to see you next year here as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.